This is one I like very much, nutrition supplements, because it's a very controversial topic. So we're going to wade into controversy today and see if we can survive that. So what do I need? What should I take? How many, so just briefly again, because I should, broad informational topics, what we're doing here. Your individual health choices, particularly in the way of supplements, are very much up to you and should be discussed with your physician, who may not be interested in discussing these things with you. But it's a very cool topic, and I think starting with a solid basis for micronutrients and what supplements may have to offer us is an excellent use of our time this morning. People have been asking about obtaining the slides and notes and things of that nature. They're not available in advance because the programs kind of finish in the hours before the programs start, but I will make these available through my website. If you go to the website, you'll be prompted here to enter your email address, and if you choose to do so, that subscribes you to an email newsletter, and I'm going to say through that newsletter when these things are available and how to see them. So it's going to have access. It'll be a few weeks, but it is coming, so it'll be available to you, so you don't have to take panic notes now. And I'd say just kind of sit back and enjoy and sort of drink it in, and you have a chance to look at those slides and listen to the talks in a lot of detail later on down the road. So why do we discuss supplements? In my mind, they're fascinating. Inspiration to improve our diets, to obtain nutrients that we might think we need through supplements, and potential for benefit from nutritional supplements. All of these reasons. How many people here have Costco memberships? Lots of people shopping at Costco. Have you noticed the supplement section at Costco? Ours is spectacular. I just went through and I took pictures of some of the things that were available at Costco. You can get a multivitamin, a mature multi if you're mature. You can get a women's formula multivitamin, which might be better than one of the more generic versions. Again, more women's versions, which may be better or worse. You can get a super B vitamin complex, not too expensive. Slow niacin, which may be better than fast niacin. If you know the difference between slow and fast, you're doing better than most people. Vitamin C, and you can get vitamin C with rose hips if that's to benefit you, all available at Costco. Vitamin D, not too cheap. We've heard lots of good things about vitamin D. Maybe we should be buying that one. Vitamin E, look at that. We've heard that's a strong antioxidant. Maybe we should be taking more of that. Calcium, everyone's heard that's good for your bones. You can buy extra at Costco. There's magnesium. Just a hint, this is a product that I own from Costco. Fish oil, we've talked a lot about fish oil. Here's 1,200 milligrams. Maybe we should start supplementing with fish oil. There's flaxseed oil because we'd like to not take fish products, perhaps, and you can get that at Costco. There's krill oil. What's krill? Krill may be even better than fish oil, and if you think that's the case, you can have krill oil, and that's available. Or other things to reduce your cholesterol, getting pretty expensive, but we heard cholesterol is important. Fiber, everyone needs more fiber, so you can buy that in capsules if you feel like you're not getting enough. Different fiber products if you think one's better versus the other. Coenzyme Q10 is available, ubiquinol, a little pricey, but we've heard that coenzyme Q10 is important. And liquid coenzyme Q10, here's a product that I have purchased and used, more than one box, and several of my patients have chosen to get CoQ10 from Costco. Resveratrol, we've thought about good things in resveratrol. That's that good ingredient in grapes or grape seeds, and what some people think may give red wine its value because that wine producing process really preserves resveratrol well in the final product. Only the doses tend to be a little bit low, so anyone wonders if that can really make that much difference. So you could supplement with more should you choose. If you feel you need extra collagen because you're running out, you can buy collagen. Hair, skin, and nails, if you feel those need some improvement, you could supplement. Here's Garcinia cambogia, something that Dr. Oz has commented on. Maybe that would be useful, something we'd like to try. We've talked about garlic. We've recommended 1 clove a day. Maybe you don't want to eat raw garlic, so a supplement might be something valuable to you. There's ginkgo. Ginkgo's been around a long time in the ancient world. Maybe ginkgo would be nice, and we should be buying this. Ginkgo biloba, and just so you don't get confused, this is Balboa, and biloba is what the supplement is. So you don't want to run into Balboa. Stick with biloba if you're going for ginkgo. Green tea, lots of buzz about green tea. Maybe that's not something you want to drink. You just want the extract, so you can buy green tea extract, have some health benefits. We've talked about cinnamon, or we've heard about cinnamon. Here I can supplement on cinnamon if I don't want to eat the raw product. Turmeric, we've talked a lot about turmeric. We know that is an excellent spice, lots of health advantages, and you can buy it as a supplement if you're not able to eat the real thing. Cranberries are good. If you don't like real cranberries or they're out of season, you can supplement on cranberries. Red yeast rice, somewhere you heard that lowers cholesterol and may be a natural statin that could get you off your Lipitor perhaps. You could buy red yeast rice at Costco. Maybe that's a good way to go. Melatonin to help you sleep. Might replace that sleeping pill. There's other benefits. 5-HTP for mood support. We all need better moods. You could try this. PGX Daily, clinically proven. Not sure what that is, but the labeling looks good and someone's certainly selling it. We all want better prostate health. If you buy everything that's available at Costco, one sample of everything, the total price by my estimate is $534. So if you think that represents maybe 1 month, maybe 2-3 months supply, you're running a supplement budget on the order of $350 to $500+ per month. You know, that's on the order of $4,000 to $6,000 per year. And is this something that you're going to keep up indefinitely because it's so good for you? You know, so the supplement choices that bombard us and what's available is really quite staggering and exhausting, and you feel like you need some sort of guide as to what maybe you should be taking. And the question is always in the back of our minds on nutritional supplements, is this a marketing scheme because the marketing is intense, or is this legitimate? Lots of opinions out there. The dietary supplement industry is a $30 billion a year industry. Half of US adults use at least one dietary supplement that's usually multivitamins, but lots of other things. This industry is fueled primarily by a marketing-oriented claim to wide-ranging benefits. So it's really coaxing you to buy products. And again, a $30 billion a year industry. It is intriguing. Who has seen this on the grocery store shelf? Or perhaps in your fuel station, service station when you're getting gas. 5-hour energy promises to give you a kick in the pants. Anyone here tried 5-hour energy? Got a few people who have tried this product. It's interesting if you read the ingredient list. Something that's really selling itself and doing very well, in fact, on promising an energy boost. What's in this? It's a lot of B vitamins, 2,000% your daily value for B6, 8,000 your daily percent for B12. And then actually a lot of things that we've seen on our list for amino acids, which are simply protein building blocks. Tyrosine, phenylalanine, taurine. There is caffeine, but only as much as 1 cup of coffee. And if you don't like that, you can get a decaf version. And this still promises to pack a real energy punch. So you start to think, what is it about a few select amino acids or high-dose vitamin B, for example, that can give me a real sudden boost in energy that's going to last several hours with no possibility of crashing, or a promise that you won't have a crash or a depression following your dose of 5-hour energy. So I'm not saying take energy drinks at all. It's just an intriguing point as to what these substances may in fact be doing. Medical opinion right now kind of says supplementing is largely a waste of money. Here's an article from the Annals of Internal Medicine 2013. Enough is enough. Stop wasting money on vitamin and mineral supplements. Overall, supplementing the diet of well-nourished adults with most mineral and vitamin supplements has no clear benefit and might even be harmful. And many physicians have exactly that opinion, and they're somewhat justified in having it. Dr. Day is a cardiologist, and president of my professional society, which is the Heart Rhythm Society for North America. And in the spirit of full disclosure, he says, I used to take a multivitamin and fish oil. However, I'm concerned about some of the individual components in my multivitamin, and now I selectively supplement with vitamin D, with iodine in the form of whole kelp, and a biologically active form of vitamin B12. So D, iodine, and B12. He's a Mormon, eats meat infrequently, lives in Salt Lake City, concerned about vitamin D during winter months, and has chosen that very targeted supplement regimen because he feels he's particularly deficient or possibly deficient in those few things. And that's certainly an approach we can take. In defense of supplements, here's a very outspoken person and somewhat of an authority who tends to echo my own feeling on this topic. Says there's in fact many proven benefits for low-dose vitamins: boosting the immune system, increased glucose tolerance, improved energy level, cognition, mental alertness, athletic performance, and that's already scientifically demonstrated to the satisfaction of the very stringent European Food and Safety Authority. Scientists have concluded that people don't need extra supplements because they get everything they need from food. This would be correct if we grew organic fruit and vegetables in our own backyards on highly fertile organic soil, and if we reared the free-range animals or fish we regularly ate in organic and non-polluted conditions. It's, a bit of a stretch as to how we can obtain the vitamins and nutrients from fruits and vegetables by using what's commercially available to us. I tend to agree. So modern, intensely farmed food has a fraction of the nutrients it once did. Most of today's fruits and vegetables are laden with fertilizers and pesticides, which have a deleterious effect on human health. The latest research shows that our highly processed and over-fertilized food is itself causing epidemics in diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. She says vitamins are necessary to counteract the damage that industrialization has wreaked upon food. So some strong opinions kind of in both directions. Here's an interesting study that was published just this year, a very recent result. After devastating flooding in Alberta, Canada, June of 2013, you'll remember that 56 adults received nutrition supplements as part of a study. So these people are living through a natural disaster. Some got vitamin D, others got B complex vitamin, and others got a broad spectrum mineral vitamin formula. Self-reported changes in depression, anxiety, and stress were monitored for 6 weeks. The group on B complex and on the broad spectrum multivitamin showed significantly greater improvements in stress and anxiety compared to the vitamin D group. No differences between the B complex group and the multivitamin group. So their conclusion is that a multi-mineral vitamin supplement combination to minimize stress in the setting of natural disasters is now supported by 3 studies. So that's interesting. Here are otherwise healthy people clearly benefiting from supplements in the setting of a very high stress time in their lives. So, what I ask myself is, do we have to wait for the next cyclone to benefit from supplements, or do we have periods in our lives that are sufficiently stressful that we would benefit as well from supplementation? And of course, it's an extrapolation, but I definitely tend to think that that is the case. Here's another recent study, and this one, British Journal of Psychiatry from 2014. Double-blinded, randomized, placebo-controlled, University of New Zealand. Vitamins and minerals reduce symptoms of adult attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So using a very broad spectrum formulation, 14 vitamins, 16 minerals, 3 amino acids, 3 antioxidants. This formula, they said, holding up in over 20 published studies with good short and long-term safety data, clearly improving mood in otherwise healthy adults who have some sort of a psychiatric condition. So again, interesting on potential benefit of supplements in these healthy populations. Very discouraging is an article like this. You want to buy supplements? There's no guarantees. Here's a New York Times article from February where the Attorney General accuses GNC, Target, Walgreens, Walmart, all large stores, certainly in the United States and also in Canada, of selling fraudulent and potentially dangerous herbal supplements. 4 out of 5 top-selling brands did not contain any of the herbs on their labels. Well, that's great. Pills contain little more than cheap fillers like powdered rice, asparagus, and houseplants. So for everyone spending their hard-earned dollars on those, clearly not benefiting. And it didn't say exactly what the products were that they found to be compromised. So GNC answers back. We will now use sophisticated DNA tests to authenticate the plants and herbal supplements. We'll conduct widespread randomized tests for common allergens to make sure they're safe. We'll require our suppliers to do the same. And there's a call for tougher national regulation on the loosely supervised supplement industry with products that are right now being used by tens of millions of Americans. So it hasn't been pretty, and it's obviously been deceptive. Promises to get better. Like I say to all my patients, you may believe in supplementing or you may not. I tend to encourage it, but you have to find a supplement source that you trust. And it's hard to know what to base your trust on. So there's quality grades for supplements, pharmaceutical grade being the highest regulatory requirement for purity, ability to dissolve, absorption, really well studied. Medical grade, that's something like prenatal vitamins. And then you sort of have a cosmetic nutritional grade, which may not have high concentrations of the active ingredient. So let's take that for the case of fish oil. Here is Lovaza, pharmaceutical grade fish oil. That's what I can prescribe to my patients and have their insurance help them pay for. 85% of that pill has omega-3 fatty acids in it. Compare that to a regular retail fish oil where it's only 30% omega-3s and the rest of it is other fish fat, which we have no reason to think benefits us. So I need 12 pills of this to get the equivalent of 3 or 4 pills of this. And of course, we have some product in the intermediate. So be aware of the quality grades and look for the percent or content of the actual active ingredient that you're seeking when you are looking for supplements. Let's talk about the cellular basis for supplementation, particularly in the setting of cardiovascular health. And I find this very interesting, and it's been enough to persuade me to supplement on certain things and to encourage or offer my patients the opportunity to supplement on the same things, and I'll show you what those are. So, supplementing for muscle energy. This is a schematic that I drew, so excuse my artwork, of a muscle cell focusing on the areas where we can supplement to potentially improve function. So the whole thing is the cell. The cell wants over 60% fat energy, less than 40% glucose energy to function. L-carnitine is a molecule that helps pull the fat from the cell into the mitochondria, which is the engine, the boiler room of that cell where energy is really produced. So I have L-carnitine pulling in the preferred substrate and help shuttling out the breakdown products after the energy has been used. We have the substrates for cellular energy, which are going to be used to make the ATP molecules, which are the real energy dollar that cell uses to actually function and to have energy readily available. And there are substrates here fuels that we can supplement on to facilitate that process. Coenzyme Q10, where does coenzyme Q10 act? It acts on the membrane of the mitochondria to facilitate formation of those substrates into the energy molecule. So we can supplement on coenzyme Q10 also to facilitate that energy producing process. And then cells are full of magnesium. And what does magnesium do? It electrically balances those ATP molecules so the cell can shuttle that energy currency wherever it needs to have energy at whatever location for its metabolic processes. So we have 4 supplement targets that can improve certainly cardiac muscle health and skeletal muscle health as well. And let's take a closer look at those things. A little bit more appreciation on heart structure and energetics, and I love it that my animations are working today. So here we have an organ level heart. There's your heart. If you crack someone's chest and open it and pry it open with these metal forceps, you can see your heart, beating inside your chest. And that's the view of the cardiac surgeon. And there you see that organ contracting in real time just as rapidly as it does. We know the microstructure of that is these bands of muscle cells. They're collected in fibers, and each of those small fibers is in fact a cell that's undergoing this contraction process. In clusters of cells, it moves like this, and this is in real time, just as your heart is beating. And what it really is the individual cells all together contracting in unison in a synchronized fashion to generate that overall heart pumping ability. And we think our heart does this 100,000 times a day on average. It's got to keep that up for your entire life. You tend to think anything you can do to make that process easier would tend to benefit you. So let's just appreciate the level of function we're dealing with. We said in the cell are these engines, and there's several engines. They're called the mitochondria, and that's actually where the energy currency for that contraction process is produced. So 5,000 of these mitochondria per heart cell, it's 35% of this heart cell volume, produces 90% of the energy, produces ATP, and when ATP is burned as fuel, it regenerates it so you can use it again. So we're going to focus on mitochondrial health. These are very interesting structures. They contain their own DNA, and they have created themselves, and they're by their own, or they're responsible for their own generation in your cells, and they completely regulate their own processes with their own DNA. Interestingly, all the DNA for your mitochondria you have inherited from your mother. So your dad may look like a Chevy, you may look like a Chevy, you may feel like a Chevy, act like a Chevy. If your mother's a Honda, it's a Honda engine that's under your hood. So just so you know, okay? So interestingly, the DNA in your mitochondria are relatively unprotected. So they're vulnerable to damage from free radicals and oxidative stress. And if they damage over time, that's going to degrade the function of the mitochondria or your engines. Your engines are going to start to fail at the cellular level. So the mitochondria require a high level of antioxidant production or antioxidant protection. So a few more basics. The mitochondria health requires respiration, requires oxygen, produces carbon dioxide and water. That's why we breathe and that's why we pee. Very efficient energy process, but every time 2 to 5% of oxygen is not efficiently used but becomes a toxic free radical. And those toxic free radicals are overproduced during disease states and stress. They can damage your mitochondria, and the damage eventually begins to corrupt genetic information. Mitochondrial damage has been proposed to be the real reason why we age and die prematurely. And there are demonstrations that there's extensive premature cell death as a major cause of unexplained congestive heart failure. And that's very interesting in my specialty. And this can be seen particularly in women in their 7th and 8th decade. So there's a reason throughout life to be protecting your mitochondria to the degree that you can. So we can think about dietary and supplemental antioxidants for this reason, to protect the DNA from free radical function, from free radical damage, to preserve mitochondrial function, to preserve cellular function and lifespan, to preserve your function and lifespan. So we see the mitochondria being important. And this is kind of how it works. We're constantly bombarded by free radical stress, ultraviolet light from the sun, ionizing radiation from industrial processes, smoking, including secondhand smoke. There's air pollution, your own white blood cells fighting infection and inflammation, and your own mitochondrial engines not burning completely efficiently and generating a few toxic metabolites of their own. You know, in our longevity talk, we'll see that one of the rules of the centenarians is eat until you're 80% full. Why? Because you don't want your engines running hotter than they need to run. So if you really are full, when you feel 80% full, stop eating, because whatever else you eat, your engines are going to have to burn, and by burning, they're going to run hotter, longer, and generate more free radicals, which over your lifespan are going to add up, start to encroach on your lifespan. So all these free radical molecules cause DNA damage. They're damaging your genetic information, and as soon as they are produced and as soon as we're exposed to them, we need to have antioxidants on board to quickly mop them up. So here we see an apple that's been sliced, and a little bit later it shows what the process of oxidation can do. And you can imagine these sorts of things happening in your body, and for us to be in a constant state of needing protection from these stresses, which are, ultimately unavoidable. So cellular energy and antioxidant production. You can think here, oxygen become unbalanced molecules, which are free radicals. They're attacking your cells. And then we have antioxidant substances like some of the vitamins C and E, and then products in our plants, cruciferous phytonutrients, carotenoids, flavonoids, all mopping up those oxidant species as quickly as they can. And what they're in fact doing is, for this free radical that has an unpaired electron, which is causing the damage, these antioxidants are quickly able to supply those electrons so that free radical becomes balanced, electrically balanced, and no longer dangerous. You can think of the free radical as an unprotected buzzsaw, flying through your cell and your system like an unguided missile, and your antioxidants like kamikaze pilots, attacking these to electrically balance them and provide you with antioxidant protection. And we said yesterday, LDL cholesterol, it's not the LDL cholesterol, it's the oxidized LDL cholesterol. So when that cholesterol has become damaged by free radicals, does it become most pathologic? So it's not just your cholesterol level, it's how well you're actually protecting your cholesterol from having this damage and becoming pathologic to you. So optimizing cellular energy and longevity, sort of our grand unified theory is we are fighting inflammation, we are mopping up free radicals with the goal of improving our longevity by preserving mitochondrial function. That's what this business is all about. Keep the main thing, this is the main thing. So how do we maximize our mitochondrial function? We've talked about using high quality fuels, plant-based, whole food, organic diets, high quality fats, the mono and polyunsaturated, and then there's a role here too for supplementation. And I'm gonna name 4 that we'll talk about first: coenzyme Q10, magnesium, ribose sugar, and carnitine. And then we're minimizing mitochondrial damage all along with our antioxidants, which are contained largely in these great foods that we're eating and facilitated and supplemented by a supplement regimen that we might consider. So we really owe the focus on these particular agents to Dr. Stephen Sinatra, who is a cardiologist on the East Coast, and he's really reviewed the basic science behind some of these things and been able to make clinical recommendations in terms of dosing. And the coenzyme Q10, magnesium, L-carnitine, and ribose are what he calls his awesome foursome for cardiovascular health. So I'm going to take you through some of the rationale and basic science that Dr. Sinatra has laid out for us to improve our understanding of how this particular regimen might be beneficial. So coenzyme Q10, who's heard of CoQ10? Lots of people, most people. It's very much in the news and the headlines today, and rightfully so. This is very interesting. We can think of coenzyme Q10. This is, again, in your mitochondria along that membrane where the energy molecules are produced. We have coenzyme Q10 facilitating those chemical reactions, at the same time acting as an antioxidant. So it's an electron transport process to produce your ATP molecules. It's facilitating that exchange while mopping up the additional electrons that may be scattered or lost that could be damaging to your system. So this is the role of CoQ10 in your mitochondria. It's called ubiquinone because it's in every cell of your body. Your body has to make this typically rather than you receiving it from your diet, although there are some dietary sources. And we'll see that CoQ10 levels tend to decline with age. Supplementation can quite reliably restore cellular content, and the dose can be proportional to the deficiency or the disease state that you might be experiencing. So here's a nice graph, shows our CoQ10 levels tend to peak at about age 19 or 20, and they are declining thereafter. So here at 40 years of age, anyone here over 40? Your CoQ10 level in your heart can be down to 68%. By 80 years of age, down to 43% of what it once was. CoQ10 is one that I feel particularly comfortable about because a randomized double-blinded trial was conducted and published in 2014, demonstrating in a very scientific and rigorous way, benefits of coenzyme Q10 in the setting of heart failure, congestive heart failure. So they took 420 patients with moderate to severe heart failure, coenzyme Q10, 100 milligrams 3 times a day, and they followed them for 2 years. There was no benefit after 16 weeks, measurable benefit after 16 weeks, so you have to stick with it, but clear benefit demonstrated at the 2-year mark. Reduction in cardiovascular mortality, reduction in all-cause mortality, reduction in hospital admissions, and improvement in your heart failure functional status, meaning you were actually feeling better and performing better on coenzyme Q10 at that 100 milligram 3 times a day dose. So we have clear guidance that that is acceptable in the setting of heart failure. And that's excuse enough for me. I'm ready to encourage most of my cardiac patients, even those with arrhythmias and other issues that aren't truly heart failure, to say, you know what, this has been demonstrated to be safe and beneficial in hearts, and chances are that you're going to feel better on these things. So the Sinatra dose recommendations are close to that trial. If you have arrhythmias, 200 to 400, moderate congestive heart failure, 300 to 400, severe heart failure up to 600 milligrams, and patients with Parkinson's disease, that muscle stiffness, that rigidity, up to 1,200 milligrams a day of coenzyme Q10 can be considered as a nutritional supplement for improving symptoms. So it's very interesting. So let's move on now from coenzyme Q10. I'm going to come back and summarize these at the end, but supplement essentials for the heart. Magnesium. What's magnesium? Magnesium is an element in your periodic table. It's kind of a metal. Exceedingly important for your body. Symptoms of deficiency are in just about every organ system of your body, from headaches, dizziness, confusion, muscle problems, cardiac arrhythmias, abdominal cramps, urinary cramps, paresthesias, tingling and numbness, thigh and calf tightness, cramps in your legs and your feet, all evidence potentially of magnesium deficiency. So a little bit more, the human body has 20 to 25 grams of magnesium. Most of it is in bone, the rest is in muscle. It's the 4th most abundant ion in your body. It facilitates 300 enzyme reaction, and it's really concentrated within the mitochondria, that energy factory for your cell, where it plays such an important role because it's crucial for reactions involving ATP, for transferring these energy molecules to regions of your cells where the energy utilization is important for that cell to function properly. So that's magnesium. Warning signs of magnesium deficiency. Fatigue. All my patients tell me they're fatigued, and I tell them I'm fatigued. We're all fatigued, you know, but it is the most common and early symptom, and that is because you're having a hard time shuttling your energy around. So it's not getting places where it's needed, and as a result, you feel tired and lethargic. So we can supplement to improve energy. We get personality changes, we get anxiety, we get panic attacks, and pediatric psychiatrists will often prescribe magnesium supplements to little kids who are having night terrors and sleeping problems, things of this nature, and they can respond very well to that. Hard to be toxic because you pee out what you don't need. So very hard to overdose on these things or over-supplement, if you will. It's very safe in that regard. For arrhythmias, very quieting electrically in the heart. So I'm having all of my patients who are able with atrial fibrillation or ventricular arrhythmias or history of sudden death to be supplementing with magnesium. You know, numbness, spasms, cramps, they're so related to muscle function that if you're deficient, you're going to start to experience muscle irritability, and that may be unprovoked. Dizziness, nausea, vomiting, other signs of magnesium deficiency. Thyroid disorders, direct connection between the magnesium and your thyroid and the associated risk of heart disease. Magnesium deficiency can result in an underactive thyroid. So your doctor may have you on a thyroid supplement because your thyroid is truly deficient. The root cause of that may be something as simple as magnesium deficiency. And the symptoms attributable to hypothyroidism and to the magnesium deficiency are overlapping. So it can be difficult to distinguish. We just lost our
audio-visual again. So if we could have support from the back, please, you guys back there. My screen here is down, so that makes me think your screens are down. Can you see? They're down, okay. So last time the guys figured that out pretty quickly. So it's nice because I know it's a really a very visual talk. So the slide will be, why are we so magnesium deficient? If this stuff is so important, why is it that we have deficiencies? A couple of reasons. One is that we're being robbed by our food. Processed foods, which people are eating too much of, are devoid of magnesium. Modern farming techniques tend to deplete the topsoil, so it's not making it into your food. We're not drinking hard enough water. The water we drink is supposed to have ions in it, and if that mineral content isn't there, over time we're going to be getting magnesium deficient because that's where your body's expecting it from. Also, we're drinking soft drinks. Soft drinks contain a lot of phosphate, and the phosphate tends to bind the magnesium and neutralize it, and it doesn't get absorbed. Another cause, we're stressed out. Lots of stress, and stress hormones like cortisol use a lot of magnesium for their production. So if we're experiencing a lot of stress, we will burn through our magnesium stores. Cortisol has been called the aging hormone. And in the absence of magnesium, it will age you even more quickly. To measure. And why is that? Your body does everything it can to keep the serum or blood levels of magnesium normal. So you measure the blood, magnesium's normal. That doesn't mean you're not magnesium deficient. Your tissues could be profoundly deficient, propping up this serum level, which is not at all reflective of what's going on throughout your body. So a normal serum magnesium level may give a false sense of security about the status of the mineral in your body and explains why magnesium deficiency often goes unrecognized. Almost every cardiac patient in the hospital who comes in, who I'm consulted on or are admitted under me, gets a gram of magnesium IV every day just as part of routine care. You can measure levels with red blood cell tests should you choose. These aren't readily available, and I've never in fact used one. So magnesium is a supplement that I recommend to just about anybody who is seeing me as a patient because the benefits are so many and the deficiency is so common and the laboratory measures are so meaningless. We can eat magnesium-rich foods provided they are in fact rich in magnesium as they're supposed to be, and we can supplement. Magnesium gluconate is what is preferred because it's absorbed so well. The one to avoid is magnesium oxide. If you buy a supplement of magnesium oxide, this is the worst absorbed. Very interestingly, that's the only thing on my hospital formulary that I can order in pill form for admitted patients is magnesium oxide. And it's in fact the worst one. You can get ionic magnesium drops. You can put magnesium on your skin, and you can soak in Epsom salt bath. So the magnesium can come to you in different ways. For most of us, it's oral supplementation, and a magnesium gluconate or citrate is best. Next topic, supplement essentials. What about ATP? We want to increase our ATP levels so we're flooding the market with dollars or energy currency to give ourselves the best chance of being energetic. A little bit more cellular basics. This is an ATP molecule. Breaking this is what actually produces the energy that you use. Part of that ATP molecule is a 5-carbon sugar called ribose, and ribose is very limited in your body. Think about ATP. Heart contains 700 milligrams of ATP. That is enough for 10 heartbeats at 60 beats a minute. So you cycle through that sitting here every 10 beats. Your heart is recycling your ATP pool 10,000 times per day. So it's a busy economy with limited currency. And we think that diseased hearts in times of stress or, acute conditions, ATP consumption is going to exceed restoration. The recycling process becomes somewhat dysfunctional, and the ADP, some of the substrate, will actually leak from your cells, leading to additional limitations in your reserve. So some of our illness process, I think, is attributable once your body is recovering, is the time it requires just for your body to rebuild energy currency, and it is potentially possible for us to hasten that process along. So glucose is the sugar we're familiar with. That's a 6-carbon sugar. It can give you obesity. Ribose is a 5-carbon sugar. It's a structural sugar. It's not an energy source. It won't make you fat. And supplementation is possible. Still sweet. Doesn't taste quite like glucose, but still sweet. It is in fact a sugar, and has a very different role. So we can supplement with D-ribose powder. And this is one thing I've actually taken the step of supplementing on. We can say ribose is minimally present in foods. It's high in red meat, particularly veal. I'm not tempted. Ribose availability limits cellular energy. Ribose cannot be stored in cells. The cells have to make ribose when they need it. Ribose synthesis occurs slowly. If you take it as a supplement, it is said to be quickly and easily absorbed from the gut. Over 90% of the supplement dose is absorbed, and virtually all that is absorbed is utilized. Sounds like something to consider. So 5 grams of ribose, the recommendation for someone who's healthy, is a little spoonful about like this. Heart failure patients, up to 15 grams of ribose would be 3 times that amount. Still very small quantities. It tastes sweet, but it's not going to make you fat or upset your diabetes because it's a structural sugar rather than an energy sugar. The dose is recommended by Sinatra. You know, healthy living 5 grams, and that's what I'm experimenting with right now. And you can see as you develop heart conditions, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and in pro athletes who are really taxing their bodies, even higher supplement doses can be recommended. Probably pretty harmless stuff with potential for important benefit. Last one, L-carnitine. What is carnitine? It's the addition of 2 amino acids. Very interesting. L-carnitine plays a role in the cell, like we said, of moving fatty acids into the mitochondria to be used as energy and moving out the waste products. Gives you energy efficiency in low oxygen states. Very synergistic with your CoQ10 and ribose. And the heart can be very responsive to focused supplementation at times of stress. Really revives the fatty acid metabolism, invigorates mitochondrial function, and can help your heart acutely. Carnitine is carnivore. It's available in meats. Vegan diets and vegetarian diets can be quite low. You can't take more than 2,000 milligrams a day because your gut absorption tends to saturate. And there are powerful cases made for the potential for carnitine and for supplementing with carnitine. Vegetarians tend to lack carnitine. There are a few good vegetarian sources of carnitine. That wonderful avocado shows up again. And if you're not quite a vegan, cottage cheese can contain a fair amount. Tempeh, if we're going to use the fermented soy product, which can be beneficial for other reasons. So there are ways to get this. And I think we should very deliberately in our body and in our planning our diets go for including some of those sources. And again, in the setting of a heart disease, L-carnitine supplementation promises to improve angina or chest pain, improve the setting of a myocardial infarction or recent heart attack. It can be good in heart failure when there's chamber dilatation and that pump is struggling to recover function, and it can be electrically quieting in the setting of arrhythmias. Sounds good. Sounds very interesting. What the research and journals are kind of full of right now is this. Dietary L-carnitine promotes atherosclerosis and renal fibrosis. And the argument is this: when you get carnitine where it's plentiful from meat sources, when you eat those meat, your gut bacteria are going to change in response to the meat, and those revised gut bacteria are going to produce this oxygen called TMAO. TMAO, produced by the bacteria that result from you eating meat, will then accelerate the atherosclerotic process and predispose you to renal fibrosis. They studied vegetarians, even vegetarians who they'd give a single serving of meat to, and they found those people had much lower levels of the TMAO than regular meat eaters due to lower levels of the intestinal bacteria that were responsible for converting carnitine in the food to that TMAO substance. Very interesting on the role of bacteria. Given that this is a hot topic, when I provide supplement lists to patients, I tell them L-carnitine is for vegetarians. So if you're vegetarians, or you can really promise me you eat meat only very occasionally, then you can consider it. Otherwise, I really do discourage anyone from trying it. So this is our cardiovascular awesome foursome, which has good potential to benefit cardiovascular health and also muscle function throughout our bodies. The doses that Sinatra recommends look like this. If you are otherwise healthy, coenzyme Q10 100 to 150, magnesium 400, D-ribose 5, a gram of fish oil, and then as the cardiac conditions come along, or even diabetes, those doses tend to move. They tend to get higher in terms of what's recommended. So, reading his testimony and now having experience with my own patients where I have offered offered coenzyme Q10 to patients with atrial fibrillation who I'd scheduled for ablation procedures, and they call in a few weeks and cancel their ablation procedures because atrial fibrillation isn't bothering them anymore because they started coenzyme Q10. Those things start to convince you. Or you get the heart failure patient, really severe biventricular failure, like this, it's not good. And they come back and they say, I left your office with your list. I went to the supplement store. I spent $300, and wow, I'm feeling better. You do hear those stories, and it's those anecdotal instances that do tend to convince us and leaves me thinking this is something I should at least be making available to people to consider as a supplement, with the caveat that carnitine, please avoid it if you eat meat in any kind of significant quantities. Warn everybody, this is not approved right now by the FDA. It's not evaluated by the FDA. These aren't the recommendations of the American Heart Association, Heart Rhythm Society, American College of Physicians. Nobody's pushing this. The rationale seems good. Certain cardiologists believe. I've had my own good experiences. I'll make it available to you. And many of our patients do still bite at that opportunity. When you're that ill, sometimes it's like, maybe we should just pull out all the stops and see what we can accomplish. You don't want to scare anyone, but I believe the rationale is good, and we've definitely seen impressive examples of success. So, in the setting of full disclosure, my supplement regimen, patients always ask me, what do you actually do? You're telling us all this stuff. I do supplement on a multivitamin. Here's my magnesium, here's my L-carnitine, here's my ribose powder. I don't have the CoQ10 on here because I ran out and forgot to put it in. But, I really have this stuff at home, and I'm really taking it, including this morning, just to let you know. The thing we've not talked about here is this recommendation for a multivitamin. Should you have a good multivitamin? Sinatra tends to believe yes. I tend to encourage yes, unless you're motivated enough to do that targeted supplementation. Are you going to pick the individual molecules that you're going to be supplementing with, in the way that Dr. John Day is doing? I think a multivitamin is a safe enough approximation to that, and probably does stand to give us some benefit as adjuncts to everything else that we're working on. So it brings us to a question of multivitamins: what, why, and how much. And this is a topic I've explored really for my own interest. This is a product I tend to use. Here's a single pill multivitamin. Take one pill once a day. Or you can think about a comprehensive supplement strategy where every day you're supposed to take a strip of 5 pills, that daily multivitamin here being one of those, and then I have all these extra things that are supposed to be good for me. And with at least the manufacturer saying these things are going to break out of their pill form at different levels of your gut where they should apply max benefit. So you can kind of take a simple approach, or you can take a more of a comprehensive approach, and there's a lot of products that are available. The thought is that the simple one contains a lot of good stuff, and the comprehensive one contains higher doses of the good stuff and also more good stuff. So the question is, do we benefit from more good stuff and higher doses of good stuff, and is this worth our time and our money? So as an exercise, here's a book, Vitamins, Minerals, Herbs, and More, by a very reputable author, American Academy of Anti-Aging Physicians, Metabolic and Nutritional Medicine, who really talks about supplements and recommended doses in detail. Not only supplements, but how much of each ingredient should you be getting, either from a supplement or from your diet or both, but how much in general is your body looking for. And as an exercise, partly for myself, I went through to say, what's this multivitamin that I'm recommending or thinking about taking myself? How does this compare with these recommendations from a completely different source? Let's just go through and see how the manufacturers of one and an author from another completely different source agree with each other, and how do these things compare? So we can go with the simple single multivitamin or the complex formulation and compare all of their ingredients. They all have a lot of good ingredients. Here they are, lots of everything you'd think you wanted. The comprehensive one tends to have more depending on what it is. And we go through lots of good things in both. And then finally, the additional things that are only available in the comprehensive package. Some things we've talked about, omega-3 fatty acids. We've said the EPA, DHA molecules are important. So I get 500 milligrams of that daily. We've talked about probiotics. Here's 500 million colony-forming units contained. Lycopene available in tomato, lianthine, a number of other things, a berry abstract, a little bit of CoQ10, only 30 milligrams, but that wasn't there in the other multivitamin. And then N-acetylcysteine, 50 milligrams, which is a very strong antioxidant. Good rationale for this stuff. You just wonder if you'll benefit. This is what we're hoping happens, that all the goodness in the fruits and vegetables that we need are somehow getting translated into the vitamins that we would like to supplement on or considering supplementing on. For the sake of interest and to be complete, let's go through individual vitamins, appreciate what those substances play in our bodies, what role those substances play in our bodies, and think about whether we'd like to supplement with those things. Vitamin A, retinoids from animal sources, carotenoids from plant sources, beta-carotene, the most popular. Plays a role in energy, stamina, thyroid, immunity, supports bone and teeth, night vision, recommended 5,000 to 10,000 units a day. Vitalizer has 6,200 units, so right in the middle of that. So right in the middle of what the other source is saying we should be getting from our diet or from our diets as well as supplements. So you find yourself landing right in the middle. Some studies have shown danger. The carrot study, published in 2004, vitamin A formulations up to 25,000 units a day, much larger than daily recommended allowances, but they thought would over-supplementing have benefit. In fact, was shown to increase lung cancer, cardiovascular mortality in smokers and in women. So they're a safety signal. We're at much lower doses. You wonder if that safety signal still applies. The data simply doesn't exist, and it's really up to us to guess. So vitamin A, 60 substances of this found on Earth. Typical American diet includes only 6. High doses of one can compete for the same receptor site, so you should have a formula that has several. High doses tend not to be toxic, which is different from just plain old vitamin A. Lycopene, which is a tomato extract, is in fact a vitamin A type molecule. It's best absorbed when it's cooked and with fat. So if you ever heard pizza's good for you, this is what they're referring to, is that the tomato paste, which liberates lycopene in the presence of a fat cheese, is best absorbed. I'm not saying pizza's great for you in general, but it does have that unique ability to help you absorb lycopene, which is very interesting. Recommended 5 to 20 milligrams a day. Our vitamin provides us with 5. So within the goalposts. Interesting, lycopene, mostly tomato. Look at this, pizza sauce, ketchup, tomato soup, tomato sauce, tomato paste, tomato juice. Just plain old tomato contains a lot of lycopene. What's right in the middle of all that? Watermelon. Watermelon. We have a unique role for watermelon. Did you go to the watermelon feast? You should have gone to the watermelon feast. Why? You can go on purpose next time. You're going for lycopene. It's uniquely present in watermelon, surrounded by all the tomato products. Most benefit: prostate cancer, heart disease, skin health, anti-aging. Some evidence for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, osteoporosis. Good reason to include lycopene in your diet. Tomato paste and watermelon. We can think about marigold flower extracts. They're contained in the retina of your eye, helps absorb light, free radical production. Recommended is 6 to 12 milligrams daily of this particular substance. Our Vitalizer striking on the low end of what would be recommended. Nice to know that it at least has it. An alpha carotene, another substance they're providing for us, is a vitamin A type substance. Has roles in energy, stamina, thyroid function, immunity. Vitalizer providing you with a very low dose. Daily recommended value is not provided for us. Vitamin C. There is no biosynthesis. This is only from foods or supplements. Vitamin C is fantastic in all the things it does for us. Connective tissue synthesis, bolstering your immune function, regenerating antioxidants. When your antioxidants are consumed, vitamin C replenishes them, gets them out on the battle line again. Improves your cholesterol profile. A vasodilator, nitric oxide, and tyrosine metabolism. Gives you your feel-good hormones like dopamine and L-DOPA. Enters your cells with the same path as glucose. So it's competing for glucose with entry into your cell, and glucose tends to win, creating a vitamin C deficiency, and the recommendation is that diabetics in particular should supplement with vitamin C. We recommend 500 to 2,500 milligrams a day. It's water soluble, so you're not going to be able to overdose on this. Our vitamin is providing us with 500 milligrams, right on the lower edge of what's in fact recommended. Vitamin D3 is the usable form. It's in red meats and fish. It's converted on your skin when you expose your skin to sunlight. Just 10 to 15 minutes several times a day is plenty. And lots of benefit. Calcium absorption, cardiovascular disease, very important for vitamin D. Diabetes, depression, migraine, some cancer, some anti-inflammatory. There's an abstract presented at the American Heart Association, and I spoke to the author. He's very convincing. 10,000 units per day in the setting of heart failure. Proven benefit, not yet in full publication, but in abstract form and coming to us. So I'm now recommending to my patients with severe heart failure that they use high-dose vitamin D as part of their regimens to turn that around. Daily recommended is less than 1,000. Our vitamin is giving us 1,200, so a nice dose coming from the multi. Vitamin E. What is vitamin E? Most importantly, it's a major antioxidant. So it is mopping up free radicals as they hit us, probably as much, if not more, than any other substance in your body. Recommended doses, 100 to 400 international units a day. Our vitamin striking right in the middle of that, and profoundly important. We can get this also from our plant sources. And look at this. What's high in vitamin E? It's sunflower seeds. You know, we have those on our salad bar at work, and you can sprinkle sunflower seeds on your salad as part of making up your salad, something I do deliberately, particularly and consciously, knowing that I'm bolstering vitamin E, and that has strong antioxidant function. Supplements of vitamin E have been disappointing. Studies of supplements. So your natural foods, as much as you can get them from natural foods, that's always better. Supplements have been, some of the studies have been disappointing. It's present in my multivitamin. Whether that's good for me or not, the jury is a little bit out. Nevertheless, it's there. And that's why someone like Dr. Day would say, I don't trust everything in the multivitamin, so I'm going to substitute selectively on some of those components that I really believe in. And you know, that's a very smart thing to do as well, if you have the energy and time to invest in all of that, sort of individual research. Vitamin K is an underappreciated subject. Vitamin K typically refers to vitamin K1, green leafy vegetables, kale, broccoli, cabbage, these sorts of things. Actually, absorption from our food is quite low. Nevertheless, it occurs, plays a role in protein binding with calcium, bone mineralization. It decreases vascular calcification, which is going to really protect your heart, lower risk of cardiovascular disease. It aids in blood clotting. Some foods are very high. That tends to be vitamin K1. Our multivitamin only contains vitamin K1. Now we recognize vitamin K2, only present in fermented foods. Some of K1 is converted to K2 in our colon. K2 has unique roles. K2 is distributed from your liver to the rest of your body by LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, here having a good function, transporting vitamin K2 to your tissues where you need it most. Look at all the places where you can get vitamin K2. Goose liver, hard cheese, soft cheese, egg yolk, goose leg, curd cheese, butter, chicken liver, cheddar cheese. You're like, I have other reasons not to eat those things. Look at the top source, natto, fermented soy, sauerkraut, excellent. So there are vegetable sources, particularly in those fermented foods, and that's why we're encouraging people to include some of those fermented foods at least sometimes in their diet. And here's a recent study, the Rotterdam study published in 2013, showing that high vitamin K2 intake promotes cardiovascular health by preventing cardiovascular disease. And that's just super compelling, and all the reason I need to recommend that to our patients with heart conditions of almost any nature, but particularly heart failure. So be aware that there are some very recent studies in certain disease states showing that those individual micronutrients can be really beneficial. And if those are true for you or someone worth taking action on. So what is natto? We talked about natto being high in vitamin K2. Natto is this Asian product of fermented soybeans. Stir it so it becomes stickier because that's more nutritious. They say it doesn't taste great, as this guy is probably indicating. It's available in supplement form. Consider supplementing, or certainly something I think that we should be seeking out in our diet and eating quite deliberately for the unique benefits that it can have for us. The vitamin B family, we saw large doses of vitamin B in those 5-hour energy drinks. Makes you think that it's playing a role in cellular energy, and probably it is. Stabilizes brain chemistry. If you're irritable, you're having personality issues, insomnia, it can help. Liver detoxification of estrogen compounds. Heart health for vitamin B1. Healthy immune system, hair and skin. The vitamin B complex has really a large number of roles for us. Vitamin B1 thiamine will go quickly. Memory confusion, fatigue, irritability, weakness, heart energy in particular. Our recommended is 5 to 50 milligrams. Vitalizer on the low end of that, but we are getting a good amount in our multivitamin. Riboflavin, very importantly, regenerates glutathione, our strongest antioxidant in our body. As soon as it's used up, the vitamin B2 is regenerating it so it can continue its neutralization of very dangerous free radicals. So let's appreciate its role. Niacin, B3, this is in our energy drink at 150% of daily recommended values. It's improving our cholesterol profile very well as being involved in energy production and uniquely adrenal function, which is going to help our diabetic health. So important to have vitamin B at sufficient levels, particularly in the setting of diabetes. B5 is called pantothenic, panto meaning everywhere acid, because it is everywhere. Deficiency is very rare. It's going to play a very important role in vitamin D synthesis and in wound healing. Particularly vitamin D needs these vitamins to develop in its most biologic and active form. Vitamin B6, it's in our energy drink at 2,000%. Neurotransmitter synthesis, tryptophan and serotonin, does influence very much how we feel, and hence feeling energetic. It ends up in 5-hour energy. Our vitamin on the low end of what is recommended between your food and diet and what you might be supplementing on, but at least it is indeed present. Biotin, antibiotics kill bacteria producing biotin, causing deficiencies. Levels tend to be increased in vegetarians. So if you're vegetarian, wonderful, you have high levels of biotin, which is wonderful. Vitalizer providing us right on the upper end of what is recommended for us. So having all the benefits of biotin through this supplement product, and take some consolation in the fact that if you're vegetarian, and most of us probably are, our levels of biotin are not low. B9, this also shows up in our energy drink at 100% value. It is a major detoxifier of hormones and estrogens, and a lot of industrial compounds that end up in our bodies act like weak estrogen molecules and kind of screw up our hormonal milieu. And if we can detoxify from those, we are going to start to feel significantly better. Vitalizer providing all of what is recommended on a daily basis. And vitamin B12, where does this come from? It comes from the gut microbes, not in you, but in cows and sheep. It goes to their muscles, and humans or animals eat the muscles. It's also in some dairy products. If you are a vegan, it's very important that you are supplementing with vitamin B12. Carnitine metabolism, or energy from fatty acids. Protein synthesis lowers homocysteine, which is a molecule that contributes significantly to cardiovascular disease and memory loss. In your energy drink, look at that, over 8,000 of your recommended allowance will give you a big whop of energy. So if you're a vegan and you're low energy, probably suspect that this is something that you should be adding to your diet in the form of supplementation. For you, this would be a very important targeted supplement. So we have other vitamin B molecules. I'm just going to skip along in the element of time. Other elements is micronutrients. How many elements is your body actually using to support its function? From a chemistry perspective, it's fascinating. Everything I've circled in red has a role in your body. So it seems like almost 50% of the periodic table is represented in what is in fact useful to you. We know calcium, max absorption, 500 milligrams at a time, important in bones and teeth. We do get it in our Vitalizer supplement product. You have to be very cautious about low quality supplements. There's a warning that low grade products may be contaminated with lead, mercury, arsenic, aluminum, cadmium. Heavy metals that are toxic to you have been known to show up in poor sources of supplemental calcium. So buyer beware, be very careful. I mean, it's almost impossible to know what's in anything, but that has shown to be a problem with calcium. Phosphorus, it's responsible for your match strike. Most American diets are not deficient, and partly because soft drinks tend to contain a lot of phosphorus, and that becomes your supplement source. The Vitalizer does provide you with a low level of phosphorus as supplementation. Important for your bones and teeth, repair of body tissue, lipid metabolism, energy production. It's playing an important role. You probably aren't deficient. Iodine, thyroid hormone function, very important. 2/3 of your iodine is stored in your thyroid. It's added to table salt to prevent deficiency. Sea salt is not rich in iodine, so you're not getting it. Energy production, nerve function, antibacterial, hair and skin growth, recommended daily amounts, higher in pregnancy. Vitalizer providing you exactly what other sources say is recommended, has this volatility, and we actually use iodine as an antibacterial in hospitals. You can do a surgical prep using iodine solutions to completely eradicate everything on the skin so that you're safe to perform surgery. So understanding that it has an antibacterial function in your body is hardly surprising when you have that perspective. What about tin? Did you know you needed tin? And it's an element. Remember the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz? So iodine maintains thyroid gland in the way that tin supports your adrenal glands. Deficiency in tin can cause low adrenal function, can cause left-sided heart failure problems. When tin cans and pans were used, our intake was 10 times higher. Fortunately, tin is available in almost all fruits and vegetables. The content is going to depend on soil conditions to a certain extent, so it's probably unlikely that you're truly deficient. The Vitalizer does provide a 10 microgram daily dose. well below the recommended 1 to 3 milligrams, but at least you are receiving some and hopefully not going deficient. We've talked extensively about magnesium, and magnesium is probably one of our most important elements off of the periodic table. ATP function, nerve and muscle function, heart rhythms, heart health, calmness, sleep, cardiovascular disease, dementia, depression, aggression, stress, attention deficit. Magnesium citrate, gluconate are the best. Magnesium oxide, poorly absorbed. If you take too much magnesium, you'll start to have diarrhea, so you really won't overdose. And when you start to have loose bowel movements, that's your dose limit. So back off from that to where you're comfortable, and that's about where you should sit. Works very well as a laxative for elderly patients. So we can start supplementing with magnesium, and serendipitously, many people do benefit from the laxative function that comes with it. How about zinc? Zinc is interesting. Zinc is important. Very small quantities, overall physical and mental health, cofactor for 100 enzyme reactions. Lots of foods containing zinc, and again, that plant-based whole food diet will hopefully incorporate zinc that we need. 25 to 50 milligrams a day. Vitalizer striking right on the low end of that in providing us with some supplemental zinc. Selenium, this is interesting. This is very interesting. We've mentioned that about 3 times already, that Brazil nuts. A Brazil nut is the best food source of selenium, and selenium is important. People who live in states with low selenium content in their soils found to be 3 times more likely to die of heart disease than people who lived in states with adequate selenium levels. Well, we don't live in any of the states, so maybe we're okay. But selenium is something you have to think about. If you have as your nut source, encourage everybody to have a nut source in their diet, collection of mixed nuts that includes Brazil nuts. So when you're reaching in there, grabbing your handful, at least every couple of days, you're grabbing a Brazil nut, you're in good shape. And it is just exceedingly important. Cancer, DNA repair, recycling vitamin E as an antioxidant, reducing heavy metal toxicity. We talked about how we may be toxic from heavy metals that we've accumulated over the course of our lives, and now later in life, as our bones start to demineralize, releasing heavy metals into our circulation, we're experiencing the toxicity, including selenium or a Brazil nut in your diet can be part of your solution to reducing that heavy metal toxicity later in life. We'll talk about copper, necessary for heart health. I'm going to move along in the interest of time. Manganese, Americans eat enough, they don't need to supplement. Be aware that it's very important for vitamin B and C utilization in adrenal health, the health of your adrenal glands. Vitalizer coming in with the lower end of your daily recommended intake of manganese. Chromium improves your blood sugar, improves your cholesterol profile for the retention of calcium, lowers excess cortisol, which is your stress and aging hormone. So these micronutrients we want to have in place and we want to have in our bodies at adequate amounts. 50 to 200 micrograms daily is the overall intake. Vitalizer striking right in the middle of that recommended number for chromium. Molybdenum, energy production, iron utilization, alcohol detoxification, lots of food sources, low level of supplement provided in our multivitamin. Nickel, walnuts and hazelnuts increases iron absorption. DNA intermediates plays an important role. Again, low levels, very low levels provided in our multivitamin. Vanadium, it's what we use to make these very strong wrenches. Most diets are sufficient, improves insulin sensitivity. We want insulin sensitivity so that insulin levels and glucose levels in our blood are low because those are strong oxidizing agents. So things that improve insulin sensitivity, very important. And just appreciate that the same thing that you're using in your tool shed for your heavy-duty mechanics is what's improving those processes in your body. And I'm just going to skip along here a little bit. Iron is very important. Iron fortification, double-edged sword. This is what they noticed in Sweden, highest country in the world for fortification in the 1970s. They noticed increased early hemochromatosis, which is an iron overload condition, kills by heart attack and cancer. Iron deficiency is a big problem in the developing world. Overload is a big problem in the developed world, which is where we live. So mild deficiencies can in fact benefit. Lower levels can give you lower risk of cancer, heart disease, and infection. Attain a mild deficiency by donating blood at your Red Cross. If you stay a little on the low end, that's probably healthy from an iron balance point of view. This is iron. Notice what iron's always covered with, and that is rust. Why is it covered with rust? Because it oxidizes very easily. Oxidizes just as easily in your body, and that's problematic. We remember the cartoon Popeye? He ate spinach. Why? Because spinach was high in iron, and that made him strong. So it does tend to make you strong. Adult requirements much less than newborn requirements. In older adults, supplementation of any kind is in fact not recommended. Iron is going back and forth between two molecular states. That's causing free radical damage to your cells and hastens your aging. It's how iron carries its oxygen, but it's a potent pro-oxidant and quite dangerous. So being in a slightly deficient state, if anything, is a little bit beneficial. Iron promotes infections, helps bacteria grow, because many bacterial diseases do require iron for their growth. So having low levels of iron in your diet has been shown in certain societies to have lower rates of infection. So you protect yourself by staying on that lower end. So don't run to iron supplementation unless some physician really convinces you that in you it is necessary and important. And I've encouraged many of my patients who come to me on iron supplements to go back to whoever recommended this to you and make them convince you that you really still need it, because your hemoglobin looks good to me, and there's the potential for disease. We have berries in our list of top 8 list of most dense nutritional foods, and in our supplement we have berry extract, known to prevent cancer. At low doses, slows growth of cancer cells. At higher doses, it can trigger apoptosis. Most supplements are probably nonsense. Complete Complex is very effective. 2 grams of seed powder is equivalent to 1 cup of, say, fresh raspberries. And we do have some of this, hopefully a high quality source as part of our supplement regimen. Should be motivation to us to go seek those berries. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, clean them because they're high for, pesticides potentially, so you gotta be very careful, but those have the substances that you need to support very important elements in your health, particularly protecting yourself from the possibility of cancer. We talked a lot about coenzyme Q10, so I'm not going to go on much longer here. The Vitalizer contains a very small amount. We talked about doses on the order of 100 to 600 in heart failure to 1,200 in Parkinson's. So when I tell patients they need coenzyme Q10 and they tell me it's part of their multivitamin, I'll say, here's my list of what I think you should take. Go and compare it to your multivitamin and make sure the dose of coenzyme Q10 matches. And if yours is too low, you need to supplement for the difference. So a lot of multivitamins will contain a little bit, but not nearly what is necessary in some clinical conditions. N-acetylcysteine, this is interesting. It's an exceedingly powerful antioxidant, and it's what we all know from medical school that we use to treat Tylenol overdose in the emergency room. So this is something that we're reaching for when that person comes in who's overdosed on Tylenol. And the reason is that it replenishes glutathione, which we recognize to be that super strong antioxidant that's produced endogenously in our patients or in ourselves. If we're taking someone to the cath lab for a heart cath and we're concerned that the dye load might impact on their kidney function, we'll give them 600 milligrams twice daily for the day before and for 2 days after. So that strong antioxidant can help protect kidney function. Interesting that we've chosen to do that for those very short doses. The Vitalizer, so 600 twice daily, being that acute dose for a very serious condition, 50 milligrams a day sounds really nice as something to be taking regularly. So we're certainly trusting the value and potency of supplements in the hospital setting. Really stands to reason that small doses in the outpatient setting have reason to be beneficial. N-acetylcysteine, again, other recognized function. Chelating heavy metals, and again, we've talked about those heavy metals building up in our bodies. We've mentioned selenium and the Brazil nut, helping to chelate those heavy metals, bind them, take them out of our system. N-acetylcysteine as a supplement with the potential to do the same thing. At least that's the understanding, and we only hope that it's true. We've talked a lot about fish oil supplements and a host of positive things attributed to fish oil. EPA, DHA being the valuable molecules. It is a bit of a hot topic and controversy because most clinical trials involving fish oil have found no evidence that it reduces heart attack or stroke. And these are very recent publications. 24 rigorous studies from 2005 to 2012, only 2 showed benefit. 10% of Americans take fish oil regularly anyway, believing it has benefit. So lots of people are taking this in good faith. Most studies, we have to acknowledge, have not shown benefit. And here we go back to John Day. The Magna trial came out in 2015, this year. He says, he tweets, "I was beginning to lose faith in fish oil to prevent heart disease until this study came along." So this year, some interest resurges, and here we have very nice improvements in lipid profiles in the setting of fish oil supplementation with a reduction in inflammatory markers. The comment is we can't necessarily correlate these benefits to reduction in heart attack, stroke, and death, which is of course what we're really concerned about. But these data do show that patients who take fish oil supplements seem less predisposed to blood clotting, their platelets seem less sticky, and important components of inflammation are reduced. So the data does appear to be positive, and I'm sure our patients, whether we want them to or not, are going to continue to take fish oil. And I will continue to prescribe it in the pharmaceutical forms that are available to patients with cardiac disease. The opinions are kind of like this. Here's a Harvard doctor, what she's saying recently about fish oil. Large clinical trials of fish oil focused on people who already had heart disease or were very high risk. So is fish oil enough to turn that burden of disease around, or is that too much to ask of the poor fish oil? That's kind of her point. Fish oil has been promoted for preventing a variety of other conditions, including cancer, Alzheimer's, and depression. Certainly, probably has cardiovascular benefit. It may not be the one thing that's enough to turn things around measurably, but probably important as an adjunctive agent. You know, and these other guys, fish oil in someone who doesn't eat fish, and Dr. Day is saying, recommending wild salmon for omega-3s. So a lot of divergence of opinion out there. I still err on the side of suggesting it as long as the source contains those potent molecules that we're really trying to get. And I'm grateful that my supplement does contain some amounts of both of those molecules. We've talked a lot about probiotics. You know, the GI tract has 400 species of bacteria. We want the best species to be living in our gut. Common ones are in, and helpful ones are in dairy products, yogurt, fermented food. This little capsule in my multivitamin strip is supposed to make it all the way down to the distal part of my gut before it releases. 500 million units of bacteria, very beneficial forms into the gut. And you know, we can only hope that these things benefit us. The rationale is great. The studies proving these things are not with us yet. So we are ahead of the data in really recommending these things. There are studies like this one showing that antibiotics, which alter gut flora, can increase your diabetes risk. So the gut flora is important, and messing with it using other drugs can be particularly dangerous. Altered microbiota in patients with type 2 diabetes and increased obesity were found in those exposed to antibiotics during the first year of life. So very early in life, an antibiotic was thought to be necessary, given to the patient, changes their bacterial flora at that very young age. And now later in life, when type 2 diabetes and obesity are present, that early event being seen as culprit in this adult pathology. So let's appreciate just how sensitive these things are and really respect antibiotics. Here is another book that has just recently come out. I haven't had a time to read it in detail, but I'm looking forward to. Health of your brain, dictated by the state of your microbiome, those bacteria in your gut. And again, just the importance, that's not surprising since the majority of our serotonin, other neurotransmitters, which our brain uses to function and to feel good in the setting of those hormones, is in fact coming from our gut. And we know that the bacteria in our gut are largely responsible for their production. Then, having another book recognize that that's the case is hardly a stretch. Probiotics, yogurt, sauerkraut. You want an unpasteurized sauerkraut, not what's in most supermarkets, because that kills the helpful bacteria. Fermented soybean paste in miso soup. You'll get that in Japanese restaurants. Soft cheeses shown to deliver bacteria that really do survive until they reach your colon, which is beneficial. Naturally fermented pickles. You might have to make those on your own. Lots of natural sources of probiotics, which are going to bolster, the integrity of our own bacterial flora, and we can certainly supplement on those things to help us along if we feel that we're lacking or not willing to eat those particular products. So it's a dense day, and we're right at 3:30, so we hit the nail on the head. Just to summarize, our nutritional needs are diverse and they are complex. We can pursue whole food sources of vitamins and micronutrients, and we should do that intentionally. We can supplement, and there is potential for tremendous benefit with certain supplements. We need to scrutinize supplement sources because this is an unregulated area, and what's available is not proven by regulatory bodies. We talked specifically about the cardiac 4, coenzyme Q10, magnesium D-ribose, and L-carnitine. I've felt tremendous benefit with coenzyme Q10. I felt a boost in energy like this after my first dose of 100 milligrams of CoQ10, and I don't believe that was some placebo effect. Most of the people in our office have now switched to starting CoQ10. One athlete in our lab, mid-40s, just biked the Portland to Seattle bike race. He's supplementing on 300 milligrams a day, convinced it's improving him and his training regimen. When the anecdotal cases of benefits start to roll in, that does tend to convince the mind. So think about those things very seriously. L-carnitine, only if you're a vegetarian. Think about just a multivitamin versus individual micronutrients where you kind of build your own multivitamin. Probiotics, it's important if you supplement or if you're getting it in your fermented foods. And remember the importance of your gut flora in modulating your overall nutritional status.